as you can see here, Nicola's just joined me. I'm really looking forward to this talk, Nicola. And the same with same as the rest of our speakers. Anybody's got any questions, do please pop them in the questions tab. There is a video in this presentation, so I'm going to be ready with the play button, Nicola. So I'll be on my toes, and as soon as you say, Rob, hit that button, I'll press the play button. And there's a short video that will be playing as well, just so you're aware. So yeah, Nicola, what I'll do is I'll pop your presentation up now, and then I'll disappear, but actually on purpose this time, rather than the computer just kicking me off. And
I've browsed I'll be back for divorce attorneys today.
You've gone straight into the video, Rob, not the presentation.
Yes, yeah, yes. That's
Hello,
yeah,
everyone.
it's a great start. Right, so this is the here we go.
Let's go back to the start. Brilliant.
Perfect. So yeah, so that's the presentation. I'm just going to disappear now, and what I'll do is I'll pop Nicola's LinkedIn details just in the chat column as well. So if anybody wants to connect with Nicola and ask any questions, then please do that. But yeah, the questions tab's up there, so please do put some questions to Nicola.
Thanks, Rob. Hi everyone, good to see you all. Thanks, Sarah. That was really interesting. Hope everyone's had a good morning. It's getting near lunchtime, so if, I'm talking about cookies, but fortunately, they're not the edible type. So yeah, my name's Nicola. I'm the founder of the Maze Group. So we're a group of 6 agencies, all around marketing agencies. We produce a lot of content. So my talk today, I was thinking about, I spoke last year at the event, and it was early days of COVID. So I did a talk around the future of content marketing based on lockdowns and COVID, etc. So I'm kind of expanding on that a bit this year. Now we're a year into lockdowns and COVID, etc. And looking at what are the challenges, what's one of the biggest things that's going to happen this year that we need to reflect in our content marketing strategies. Hence why it's called post-COVID, post-cookies. So I won't harbour on this a great deal, but just looking at, obviously post-COVID, I think it's quite obvious we all have great Zoom fatigue. It's exhausting at the end of the day after numerous meetings. And it's not just Zoom fatigue, it's screen fatigue as well. Everything, our coffee chats, our drinking with our friends, everything is on a screen. So, it's inevitable. We've all got this passion to get back to real life, to have some human interaction. So how, as content marketers, as marketeers, how can we stand out in the new world? Things like obviously cutting through the noise. There is going to be this shift into everyone doing events, getting out in the physical world. So something, what's going to stand out? So I think Sarah mentioned in her talk, she liked holding a physical newspaper. So I think, we talked in our group about sending physical things, printed manufacturer's goods, something that evokes emotion, that's an experience. Obviously, podcasts and audios have grown massively over the past year. I think, Apple there's so many, I think it's about 1.6 million podcasts on Apple at the minute. It's up about 59% a year. So there's still this massive need to consume podcasts. And things like, print materials, magazines, podcasts, they can generate a much more emotional response rather than something digital. And again, something I talked about in my last talk was how there's a real opportunity for us as content marketers in the B2B arena. Obviously, with no events, we have to attract the audiences. And so talking about bespoke content, sending it to them, sending them printed materials, letters, etc. There's a very small audience. So I think there's a real opportunity still in B2B, in the post-COVID world. So yeah, so the big thing I want to talk about really is post-cookies. Now, something that's been in the press a lot over the last couple of years is users' privacy online. And a big thing that's come into effect this year and is still in its infancy, and which I believe is why we're entering a new iteration with content marketing, is the phasing out of third-party cookies. So obviously at the minute, it's quite freaky sometimes how we're followed around the web. You look for something and you go on another site and you suddenly see what you're looking at. And some users find this a bit big brother-like. So there's this real increase, to have more privacy. But what does that mean for us? Obviously, if cookies are being phased out, it's going to be harder to remarket to our audience. And other sites can no longer track on third-party sites, so they won't have this abundance and wealth of data that's currently there at the moment. So Rob, could you play this for me, please? Hello. Okay.
I've browsed 8 sites for divorce attorneys today. I browsed 8 sites for divorce attorneys today.
My login for everything is Pauline@paulinefu.com.
I love working with you.
Me too.
Red heart emoji.
Pink heart emoji.
Yellow heart emoji.
Blue heart emoji.
I hate Lee though.
Puke emoji.
Puke emoji.
I am currently reading an article titled 10 Ways to Keep Sweaty Hands from Holding You Back.
My home is in 1,000 feet.
My heart rate is currently 150, 151, 152, and back down to 150.
On March 15th at 9:16 a.m., I purchased prenatal vitamins and 4 pregnancy tests.
The number on my credit card is 0237 1221 0725 0211.
Thanks, Rob. So I love that ad because I think it just shows everything we do online for so long has been tracked. You know, all the data is aggregated, it's fed into these algorithms to the platforms, and you know, us as marketeers can go onto these platforms and define the audience we want to target our content or ads at. And you know, really, it's quite easy. You know, this is all going to change, and at the minute it's all behavior based, so you can follow the user around wherever they are on the internet. So really being site specific doesn't have a great deal of relevancy. So post cookies, you know, what does it mean? We know that people have gamed the platforms. That's why there's been loads of privacy issues over the years. Obviously Cambridge Analytica was a huge issue, and you know, Tim Cook came out after that saying Apple doesn't want to treat its customers like products. Obviously, Facebook, you know, makes its money through advertising. Google makes it money through advertising. You know, the wealth of data they had makes them very, very rich. And already we know that, you know, Firefox and Safari have phased out cookies by default. In iOS 14 app users can no longer, you know, be defined by their cookies. So what we're seeing here is Apple is positioning itself as a big tech company on the side of privacy. And that's their kind of brand ethos. That's how they want to be seen. And because they've taken this approach, it's forced people like Facebook and Google to almost follow suit because they want to be seen as, you know, they're looking after their users too. So yeah, as I said, they're doing the same and no longer can track cookies. So it means they won't have the amount of details from third-party sites, you know, they've got at the minute. So being able to advertise and put our content across to different audiences is going to be much more difficult. So what does this mean for us, marketing versus the consumer? Well, on the face of it, you would think it wasn't good news for us as marketeers. But as consumers, obviously, it's really good because it makes things a lot more transparent. Again, for publishers who often, you know, don't have this whole data infrastructure like Facebook and Google do and Apple, they've obviously been using third-party sites and platforms to push their content to. So, you know, publishers are going to have to take a different approach with this. And again, it's been easy. We've taken it for granted for so long that we've just got this wealth of data at our fingertips. You know, cookies meant we could target anyone wherever they were on the ad. And also something is we have very little control. So if you uploaded your data to platforms or you wanted to target certain audiences, you weren't 100% sure where you were going to see that content. It could, you know, sometimes it actually could be quite detrimental to the brand if it was going on a site that perhaps you didn't have a good reputation. So it's our job as marketers now to be smarter about how we communicate with our potential customers. You know, and something, again, we have been doing in content marketing for a long time is making sure we have conversations. Without cookies, it's going to lead us to have much more control of where our content is shown. So contextual targeting is going to be a good thing. Obviously, contextual targeting was around years and years ago. And, you know, we put wherever the customer was and then they were looking at, say, sofas, we would show relevant adverts around sofas or the house or furnishing, etc. So without this, we're going to have we can improve the quality of the sites our content is shown on, but this could make it more expensive. So what does this all really mean? Now, Google have basically said the new cookie is going to be first-party data. So first-party data is any information we collect directly from our audience. So listed some things here: behaviours and actions of interest on our website, data in our CRM, subscription data, social data, surveys, feedback, anything where your customer has given you a piece of data directly to you as a brand. So I think, first party data is really, really valuable. It's privacy friendly, it's richer, it's more impactful when it comes to improving campaign performance. It can stand the test of time. It can strengthen trust with, the customer and the business. So we almost have to think like a publisher in how we grow our first party data lists, like email addresses, mobile numbers, any of the data I just said, which is where as content marketers, again, producing really good content, trading value with our customers to obtain this data. So an example of some of the types of content we could produce to get this first party data, gated content, so high quality, useful assets that require a login. So online events, how-tos, influencer-led exclusive, tools, etc. Such things as membership programs, so updates, high quality that you can't get anywhere else, genuinely valuable, educational, entertaining content. And alerts, when new content is being uploaded, streams by topics. So I think, there's lots of ways we can really produce valuable content to get this first party data. I think what it means is, again, for us as content marketers, is we do become media owners. So, high quality sites will be much more valuable. So we want to make partnerships with these high quality sites. And rather than just uploading content to platforms and having it shown around the web, we can form partnerships with publishers, with advertisers. So there's going to be much more emphasis on us as marketeers, as advertisers, and as content makers. And it means we could go back to the old school days of direct buying again. And it just, it opens up a lot more opportunities. And as I said, commercial partnerships will be key. So at the minute, there's, they're looking at, obviously, they want to replace cookies. They're talking about things like unique IDs, which will be a less good cookie, so that you won't know as much about the individual. There's still debates on a unified approach around this. So I think it's still really important to kind of not rely on anything that's tracking data, and then moving towards collecting our own data, knowing our own audiences and building a relationship with them. So what does this mean in terms of metrics? Because obviously it's been quite easy going onto the platforms and being able to track, where adverts have been shown, views, engagements, etc. But now we're going to have to really work hard with the first party data we've got. People like Google, although they've got their own wealth of data, they're saying they're going to work with brands and they're going to work with people who have a really good first party data set. So it's going to be crucial to be able to, move forward to show our content. So everything still stands in what we've been doing with content marketing over the years, but we now just need to link with the rest of our teams and the rest of the people we work with as content marketers. So I think, for example, for us, we have a content agency, branding agency, we have a paid agency, and the data we collect with our content marketing, we will need to work in collaboration with our paid agency to make sure they are obtaining the data we're getting, so they can show lead generation ads to that data and build audiences around that, because we're going to have to be much more unified in our approach with who we're working with. So whether that's other agencies, in-house teams, the whole kind of marketing strategy, data strategy needs to be joined up, so the value of the content we produce is visible to the brand. So we need to be really looking at the commercial value of it. So again, this first party data is going to lead to much more great commercial value. So again, content marketing is key to all of this. Focus is on this first party data that we own and we keep. It's always been said, the more we know about our customers, it's a really, really strong thing. The more we can market to them, the more bespoke advertising, communication, and meaningful interactions. And again, going back to post-COVID, meaningful interactions with our audience is what people want. Yes, so we can market much better for them. The more data we've got, the more data that we've got on our own customers, it opens up a lot more opportunities, and we can talk to them in a really positive way. We can send them things, we can ask them more questions. And I think someone said to me the other day, what's old is new again. And if you look at old school direct mail, everyone understood how valuable it was to have an email address or a telephone number or to know their customer. They got so much more commercial value out of it. So again, this first party data, we're almost going old school again, because we've devalued the customer almost. We've devalued that bit of data because it is just everywhere on the internet. We have to go back to actually every single customer, every single bit of data we get is valuable, and we need to ensure we're producing things for our customer that they want to engage with. We're offering the value. They want to come to our website. They want to give these email addresses. So just to surmise, really, I think, I was talking, to our content team, and stuff has been said about, third-party cookies no longer being in existence this year, but not a great deal is said about it. And I think, as marketeers, we really need to understand this, and we really need to understand, the value of content marketing, because it isn't a direct advert. Any content we put out there, people want to engage with much more than they do with a direct advert. So I think by doing this, we'll have a much closer relationship with our customers, with people we're talking to, with prospects, and I think in terms of brand value, we're going to have much more insight into the customer. They're going to feel valued. They're going to feel like we care about them, and that's, again, producing good content is key for this. As we said before, as marketers, we regain control. The contextual advertising will come back again, and where we're placing our content, understanding where the customer is on the internet, and we'll understand where our content is being shown. And all this ultimately leads to a much stronger commercial relationship. The more data we've got, the more data we can feed into our customers, the more content we can show them and engage with them, we're going to be able to measure and have much more successful results. So thank you. Hope that was interesting. Those are my details. I'm happy to talk more about this to anyone. Hi, Rob.
Hi. Go on, sorry.
I wasn't sure if you'd frozen or you were coming back.
Well, I'm here for the moment, but yeah, as I'm sure Nicola's about to say, I was just going to say I popped Nicola's LinkedIn details on the right-hand side, but as you can see, they are front and center on this screen here if anybody wants to get in touch with Nicola. Again, as with all of our speakers, I'll be putting a few questions to Nicola now. So if you do have any questions, do please pop them there. I appreciate that. We've had so many people register for this event, and I know a lot of you will be watching on demand as well. So if you want to ask a question and you're not live in the room, do feel free to get in touch with Nicola via LinkedIn or email, and I'm sure she'll be able to help out. One thing I will say, Nicola, is obviously you mentioned there about content marketing and how it will change the new privacy rules. What are you most looking forward to? I know you've obviously talked about a closer engagement with a customer, but is there anything further than that, or is there anything or a particular area you're really interested in or looking forward to?
Well, I think this whole, talking about this with some of the team as well, I think it has become, again, not too easy because you still have to produce really good content, but I think going back to this old school, it's really understanding the customer, and it's really producing things that's going to resonate with them. And, cookies weren't great. They didn't have a great match rate. They were browsers, they were device specific. So there was a lot of issues with them, but it was very quick and easy way to put your content out there and target people. So I think this almost going back a bit old school again, it's quite exciting. And it means, when we're thinking about our data strategies, when we're thinking about our audiences, when we're thinking about where they're going to best engage with our content, it's quite an exciting time to just really sort of hone in on all of that again, rather than just produce some stuff and think, right, there you go, we can send it to this audience, we can see it here, we'll get likes, engagements. And like you said, that joined up approach of working across different agencies, different teams, in-house teams, and just really understanding I think there's going to be more demand on understanding the commercial value of content and, what is it actually achieving by producing it. So, yeah, I think it's an exciting time. And like I said, putting the customer first and putting that audience first and really understanding them and building up this wealth of first-party data is going to be invaluable, really. So that I think that excites us as a team and the stuff we're working on. And just like I said, it had not become easy, because marketing isn't easy, but the actual distribution and finding that audience, is, they had made it very easy. So, and it's great for the consumer, though there is more privacy. Retargeting ads and retargeting content can be freaky, and it annoys the hell out of people. So, I think that will be good not to be followed around the internet by ads and things.
Just got a question from Farah, who says, how do you think the new audio-based platforms and channels such as Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces will impact content marketing? I know you're on Clubhouse now as a Clubhouse user.
Chat the other day, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think places like that are ways, when we talk about real engagement and we talk about getting closer to our audience, they're going to be a great way to talk about particular things, target certain audiences, generate that real engagement, and again build up that first party data. And again, if you've got some really good first party data, you can invite people to such audio-based platforms. So yeah, I think all of these places where you've got that personalized approach. You can talk to people one-on-one. They're there for a reason. You're not just showing your brand up, like I talk about the contextual stuff. You're not just showing your brand up in random places that people seem a bit jarring. So I think there's a really nice thing about customer centricity, can't even say it here. And yeah, so I think all of these, it's like you guys are doing at the CMA, Rob, jumping on these platforms and trying it out and seeing what works, and considering it in your kind of strategies with your content marketing is definitely worth trying.
I think, yeah, because I think as well that with the changes that are being made, that people are going to start finding out, where am I going to get my content from? And then they're going to kind of rely on that. You know, I'm sure like everyone here, if you want to find out recipes, I'm sure you have a place where you go and you trust that place. If you want to go for inspirational outfits or homes, you know, everyone that, and I think what we have to do is, again, not for us, but in terms of brands, I think for client side, you've got to, in the future, you'll have to be places where people will want to come and visit. As you said, you can't just try and target people to visit your pages, or you can now, but you might not be in the future. So 100%, and you need to be creating that sort of build it, and they will come almost sort of
Yeah,
as the old saying goes.
Yeah, and I think like some sites will have a real high value now. So a lot of the time before, we've been able to put stuff into Google and show content and various things wherever they produce it. But there's going to be a lot of sites that we want to partner with now as marketeers, and we can almost do that direct selling or build up relationships again, or create really specific content for that particular site. So I think it's going to be good. It's going to mean advertisers and publishers and marketeers can kind of form relationships and work together. So there's a lot of really exciting things to come out of it, and ultimately it is good for the consumer. So yeah, there's a lot of positives. It just will. I think everyone needs to be aware of it, and talk. One of our biggest things is just talking to other agencies and in-house teams and making sure that data is aligned, and offline customers are given an online ID, and it's just looking at that data as a collective really, and understanding that customer as an individual, rather than just based on their behavior of things they're doing around the web.
Excellent. And so obviously that's the cookie side of things, but on terms of, obviously this is International Women's Day and the event around women in content, so one of the questions that's been put to some of our speakers before is about inspiration. And is there anyone whether it's friends, family, who inspires you, Nicola?
I think probably in my 20s, my biggest inspiration was actually being a woman in a very male-dominated industry. And I think constantly kind of going into meetings in a really male-dominated, I worked a lot of our clients were in finance and, very male-dominated areas. I think constantly having to kind of fight to be heard or to be taken seriously, or just... I was like, no, I'm not putting up with this. And that was kind of my inspiration and my drive to be like, I can be here. I do have the rights to be here. And, I think throughout life, there's always been certain people who I've looked up to, but there was never, if I'm totally honest, when I was younger, there were never a lot of inspirational women I jumped out at me. And even now I get frustrated by, a lot of, it's changing, but, over the years, there's a lot of podcasts. There's still a lot of guys seem to have this, I don't know, more not fearless, but like I said, I think it was the fact there weren't many women in the areas I was working. There weren't many women at the head of agencies, etc., who I knew in like my 20s, and that was kind of my inspiration and driver to keep going and almost like stick two fingers up at some of the men who just used to not give me eye contact in meetings, or think I didn't know what I was talking about.
Oh. So I think that's right though. As you said, if there's no one there, you've kind of got to inspire yourself to kind of push on, haven't you? What do you do as a business owner now then? And again, this will be the last question. There is a question from Farah, but it's more of I'll answer that first. It's what do you think is the best way to train a team on content marketing to keep up with the new trends? I would of course be quite biased and say make sure you keep checking out the CMA's webinars. They're free to attend, and I've popped a few links up as well. So that's what I would say for myself, but I'm not sure, Nicola, if you've got anything to add on how to keep your team up to date with the latest content marketing trends.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously it's the obvious things like reading and podcasts and speaking to people. But yeah, I think it's also trying things. If you see new trends and, you know, like we just talked about Clubhouse and things happening, and I think it's really important to, if it, you know, it's something as us as an agency, we always want to make sure we're pushing our clients onto new platforms or trying new things. And, you know, and I think it's, yeah, as teams, allow them that freedom to look to new opportunities and see what's happening in the industry and see what's working, and just think, all right, how can we implement that into our strategies for our clients? You know, and I think it's that keep pushing and keep trying and keep learning, and don't just read it, actually go, right, how can I apply this? Like, what can we actually do, whether it's for your own marketing as an agency or a business, or, you know, you suggest that to as a client as trying something. And I think that's what's exciting. So like things like, you know, the third party cookies going, there's always things changing. There'll be new iterations and new things that happen this year, and it's just really, you know, you don't want to be, and something, you know, something in this, what I was thinking about this talk, you don't want to be left behind. You don't want to suddenly not take all of these, you know, it's quite a practical talk, but it's a lot of things here are really important to take into your strategies now. So a year down the line, you're not so far removed from it that actually the commercial value of the content you're producing, the client doesn't see it. So I think it's, you know, it's actually now thinking about this and talking about it and explaining it to your clients and working with those teams. And yeah, so if your team, like I said, is keeping up to date with stuff and applying that to campaigns, or, you know, sharing that knowledge internally, I think that's always a good thing we try and encourage is, you know, is internally, how can we do little training sessions with an expert in this to show the whole team? And I think that's a really nice way of like sharing that knowledge and making sure everyone's involved in the process of content marketing, because there are a lot of there's a lot of disciplines within it to make it work. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Awesome. Well, Nicola, always great to speak to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again in another webinar coming up soon. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
I bet this afternoon.
Bye.
Bye now.